Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie News. Today we have Sandman, Snowman, and Deadman. All of this with a special guest.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
The movies make the psychos more creative. I like that. I think it's a true statement that will never stop being true.
Sure. Absolutely.
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Welcome to Horror Movie News. This is episode 4. We're almost to the big
Whee!
5. That's okay. We'll be there next
Halloween's
week.
gonna be 5.
Oh,
Yay!
that's amazing.
We're dressing up, right?
I planned for that, by the way.
Yes.
I'm so
Yes,
excited.
I might be reprising my role as Antonio Bandito, but we'll see.
Hey, do it.
But let's get to introductions. My name is Anthony Becerra, and you can find me everywhere at Tony B. Dead, but I'm actually alive. But Dead is spelled with D-E-D.
Look how excited you are. You're like,
Oh,
I'm so
energy.
energetic. Yay.
All right.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari D. Lane. That's Karidlane. And a quick little shout out to Espionage Cosmetics. I have these nail wraps called Dead Inside, and they're chain link fence with zombies. I'll take a picture so you can look at it, and we're going to give away a pair of nail wraps as well, so stay tuned for that.
Ooh-wee.
And one more really tiny quick one, because it's a tiny cute little necklace by Grace and Peonies, so I'll post a picture of that too so you can see it better.
Oh, nice. Is that a feather?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Carrie's just rocking it today.
You know.
Hey guys, I'm.
I bring it for this show.
So you're making me look a little like.
No, you look cool.
You're
You got your
no,
Walking
no.
Dead shirt.
You're standing me up.
Hey,
So wait,
man,
look,
I'm
our
over
nails
here.
and the shirt. Yay,
Ah,
we
we're
go together.
cohesive. We're cohesive. Hey guys, I'm Oliver Drennan. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ollie Dreamer.
Right on. And I forgot to actually bring a shirt today, so I'm repping Company After Buzz. Whoop, whoop.
Yay.
So yeah, later on we're gonna have a special guest, the specialist of a guest that was unable to join us because of technical difficulties last week, but that's all right. We got it this week, and it's gonna be great. And you can find us everywhere on the PopcornTalkNetwork.com or just Popcorn Talk Network. YouTube.com/Popcorn Talk Network, and also our personal the show Twitter at Horror News PTN. All
Our
right.
follower numbers are going up. I was like,
Yeah.
yay.
I know, that's
Makes me
great.
excited.
There's like people sending us stuff like, hey, check this
Yeah.
out, and they tag us in it. It's like, oh,
If you got
cool.
horror stuff, reach out, man.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
And ladies. And anybody in between.
Yeah.
Yes. So you guys know how we usually do the I guess like a recap of whatever movies we saw or anything horror related that we saw in the past week. I would like to give it a name, and so I always like the idea of saying like Stare Into the Abyss. So for
Okay.
short would be like Into the Abyss.
Sure.
So every time we watch a horror
The
movie,
abyss of the movies?
yeah, exactly, yeah, because sometimes it can be abysmal, but that's okay.
Haha.
Oh, these puns.
Yay.
All right, so that's our first segment for now, and we're gonna start off with I'll start it off actually. So this week I did watch Dead Snow.
Yay.
For the first time, it was quite the treat. It was gory. It was funny. It was campy, and just it was so good.
But it's the perfect kind of campy because they know it.
Yeah, they're
They
conscious
go
of
with
it.
it, and you're
Yeah,
like, yes.
exactly. They
It's so fun.
They grab the campiness bull by the horn and they wrestle it down, and it's quite the delight. If you haven't seen Dead Snow, definitely check it out. I believe I rented it on Amazon. I couldn't find it anywhere else for free or as in like Netflix wise. I know it was running on Netflix for a long
to be,
time.
yeah.
And if you do check out that one, you should also go ahead and check out the next one, which is Dead Snow 2: Red versus Dead. And I believe
so
there's
fun.
Russians involved. That's why it's Red versus Dead.
There's also a tank and
Yeah.
more zombie Nazis.
It's like 20 times like bonkers than the original.
Wait.
I was gonna say, wait, did you know it involves Nazi zombies?
It's legit Nazi zombies.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
amazing.
can see by the photo for sure. I've yet to see this, but I think I need to
It's
see
like
it
to-
now. But why is there no tank in the first one?
Because they're at like this resort area and it's the mountainside, and so it's like limited. But the other one they
Okay.
go to like a museum or something.
Okay.
I forget the details.
Oh, like a war museum?
yeah, there's something like that at a war
museum.
museum. Where it's
That's great.
they take the craziness of the first one. They're like, let's do more.
You could definitely like see that. Well, I've seen bits of the second one, so like you definitely
Okay.
see the
Bits and
budget
pieces.
was definitely higher for the second
It's
one.
so fun.
It's so it allowed them. It was like Dead Snow's like Evil Dead 1, and then Dead Snow 2 is like Evil Dead 2, where it's like the budget just it's huge and it just goes even wilder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I like to. It's not. This is not for a death of the week, but it's just a really cool, great death I would like to show. To preface this, the character you're gonna see is actually the horror. I guess not a horror film, but like a film buff in the movie, and he's always dropping these little lines about like horror movies and whatnot. And he's like, how many movies have you seen? One of the lines he says, it's how many movies have you seen about a bunch of friends just going and heading into the cabin? And I'm just like, oh, this guy, I like this guy. And then you would assume what happened to me once I saw this. So go ahead and roll that.
Okay, so this is essentially you, Anthony, right?
This is essentially, yeah. And unfortunately, they try to save him. You know, they
this
put
is
in
not looking good.
somewhat of an effort. They're not really. There goes the eyes. There goes.
Okay.
And they're.
Oh, wow.
And egg. And they just split his head open, and his brain comes out like a flippin' egg, dude. And then there's just this
Wow.
silence.
Well, they kind of didn't really try.
Did you watch it
so-
in Norwegian or was it
No,
English?
I saw it in subtitled.
Oh, it was
yeah,
subbed, good.
I saw it
Cool.
subtitled. No, it was much better. I mean, I personally don't mind subs. I watch anime, and that's where
Yeah.
I learned to read fast enough to
I
read.
know you like
Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, yeah. But yeah, it was
Sweet.
definitely quite the treat. I actually saw it with our engineer, Steve. Steve, go ahead and what did you think of the film?
Shout out!
Woo!
It was brilliant.
Yay!
Right?
I saw the second one on Netflix like 2 years ago, and I was just completely blown away. Being an Evil Dead fan that I am, and just the zaniness of it all. Oh, it was such a good ride.
Right on.
You're welcome,
Thank
Anthony.
you. Yeah, thank you, Kari. And then you can go ahead and hit us with what you've seen,
Well,
what you looked at.
the way Dead Snow also came up is because Snowman came out this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've
Really?
heard.
It wasn't as horrible as everyone's like, oh, it's horrible. And like, it wasn't like that. It just was kind of like, meh. Like, it just felt like it had so much potential and it just didn't deliver enough. It had moments of being a thriller. There's only one edit that really bothered me because some people were like, oh, the editing was bad. Only one edit, and it's funny because Box Office Breakdown, Frank was like, I totally agree. It's a moment where he's an alcoholic and the main character, and he's
This
looking
is
at a bar.
Michael Fassbender's
Yeah.
character? Okay.
So he's looking at a bar, and then it cuts immediately to him on the ground, passed out, and you're like, is this a memory? Did he go in and go drinking? I don't know. That was the only edit in the film that I really was like, oh, you didn't have enough time. Because then there was a rumor, or maybe truth, that the director of Snowman didn't get enough time to shoot everything he wanted to.
I heard about that too.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. Wait for it to come out later. It was very disappointing. And then I thought about it. I'm like, wait, there's some really good Norwegian films. And the funny thing also with Snowman is it's a movie set in Norway, and they go to Bergen, and I've been to Bergen, so that was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
right. I remember
Bergen!
this.
But I didn't go in the snow, so I was like, thank God I went in the warm weather. No, the thing is, it's weird because it's this movie about these Norwegians, and 90% of the cast are British, German, or like Irish, or a mix thereof. So I was like, where are the Norwegians in this Norwegian movie? Kind of weird. If, like, it's like an American movie and we have all a bunch of British people playing Americans. You're like, wait a minute. So then I was thinking, like, wait, there's some really great Norwegian horror films. So then I was talking to Anthony about Dead Snow 1 and 2. We're going to be talking about Troll Hunters in a minute. And then also in the, not Norwegian, but Scandinavian films too, because then we'll have Let the Right One In. You'll be
That's
talking about
actually-
that. And then as well as Rare Exports, because
Right,
that
yeah,
one's in
that's
a
another one
couple
you said.
countries. Also, that's a great Christmas horror movie. Trust me, it's much better than Krampus too,
Okay.
as well. And then the other one too that is available on Netflix. So that would be my Crypt recommendation in a way. Is So we're kind of getting to that too, but
Yeah.
but
It's all right.
keeping
It's
in
okay
the
if they overlap.
Norwegian is Tal.
fine.
It's Thale, and it translates to tail, and it's
Tal.
so
I've heard
good.
of this one. I haven't
So
seen it.
I think
good.
I've heard it. Yeah, well, I've heard it from her, but
And it's it's just these guys clean up like after people die, and they find some lady in a basement, and there's a lot more to her than appears.
Ooh.
We'll just start with that.
all right, that
Nice.
sounds got me hooked right there.
You're like, sure.
All right, Oliver, take it away.
All right, well, mine's actually not Norwegian, unfortunately. I was a bad boy. I didn't get to watch any movies this
alright.
weekend.
How dare you.
But I was like,
Scandinavia.
Scandinavia. Oh, what else is there? Oh, Sweden. So there's a Swedish horror romance film that you might know. Have you guys seen Let the Right One In?
Only original.
Oh,
Only
yeah.
original. And there
Yeah.
is the remake starring Chloe Grace Moretz.
It was like shot for shot. Like,
Yeah, it was.
remake,
It was.
Okay.
I think the remake was a lot more, a little censored than the original.
See, that's the thing. I don't like when people do that.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess that's also just kind of American audiences are more. They're more cautious about what they show the youth and what the youth can get their hands on, especially with violence and sex and whatnot. But the synopsis is very simple. It's an Oscar, an overlooked and bullied boy finds love and revenge through Ellie, a beautiful but peculiar girl. That's on IMDb, and it features a new take on the classic vampire, using adolescents rather than adults as the main focus. Because, I mean, how many vampire films, use adults and teenagers? I think this one was
Mostly. Like, Interview with the Vampire has Claudette, but she's a
Kristen
secondary
Dunst.
character.
Yeah. Which is also a really good film. Oh my god, I need to rewatch that.
I think it's one of my favorite like vampire films. Too.
Me too.
And Tom Cruise is in that.
He's
Wait.
weird as a blonde,
Gosh,
though.
and like good for him.
Yeah, he's a blonde.
used
And
to-
Antonio Banderas.
You guys know I'm not. A
Wait,
big
just to be clear,
TC
I'm
fan.
talking about Let the Right One In because it's kind of it's like vampires.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
No, I haven't seen
my
that
bad,
one.
my
Oh, you're
bad.
saying
Sorry about
Interview with
that.
the Vampire. But
No.
wait, you haven't
Cruise
seen
is-
I
Interview
haven't
with the
seen that one
Vampire?
yet. No, I haven't
So
gotten around to it.
good.
Yeah, I've heard it's
And
really
also,
good.
who's the reporter? Who's
Ooh.
Christian Slater's in it,
Okay.
I think. Yeah, he's
Brad
the one
Pitt?
who's.
Brad
Well,
Pitt.
Brad Pitt too. Christian
Yeah.
Slater's the reporter, like
Oh, yeah,
talking,
you're
taking
right.
the story down.
Absolutely.
Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise
Yeah.
main leads, right?
And
It's
Tom
a long
Cruise is
movie,
weird as
isn't
a
it?
blonde.
I remember it being such
Kinda.
a long movie. I haven't seen it in years, honestly.
That's
Anyway.
cool.
But yeah, it presents the dark horror, cold atmosphere that relates to kind of like the Norwegian standards, but also I think it's really intimate because you're only focusing really on these two children. And I don't know. I think that's just something about this movie that I think is just very soft yet dark at the same time. And there's also a very, very kind of humorous scene involving cats. Do you know what I'm talking about? Cats,
Oh,
for some reason, in this movie
yeah.
just don't like vampires. And I
That's
think you guys need to see this
right.
movie and watch that scene. But yeah, or you can watch the remake if
It
you
was
want.
pretty. It was a pretty cool scene.
Yeah, I think it's really funny. I love cats, and I love seeing cats go badass. But yeah, check it out, even though it's not Norwegian.
Right on. And then moving on along, just an honorary mention. I personally love the movie Troll Hunter.
So good.
It is Norwegian. It is in subtitles, but it's shot like a mockumentary,
Okay.
it's like a fake documentary. And then it's funny because like when I first saw it, I was like, they're not actually talking about trolls, right? Like, I was like, we're not actually gonna see a troll
Dude,
here.
you go to Norway, they have troll stuff everywhere.
Do they really?
Everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, like every shop sells it. It's like part of the mythology. All
Oh
the
my
postcards
gosh.
have it.
That's amazing.
That's cool. That reminds me of like Roswell, New Mexico, how they have like a
Oh,
bunch
the
of
aliens.
aliens.
They
Yeah,
embrace
that's
the
so
alien
cool.
like
That's like-
culture. That's yeah. But like in the film itself, I was so shocked when you actually see when I'm just like, what? It's like 10 times just like grew in size, and I'm
Yeah.
just like I'm in like this movie's because I was just like no way because like how real it felt and just like how like grounded it all is and everything and like they're talking about just maybe like this big animal or something and next thing you know no like legit trolls that get frozen get turned to stone by UV light and sunlight and it's just such a fun movie and I believe it does go into the troll lore. I don't know to what extent, but there's a part where like, what is it? It's like, do you believe in God or are you a Christian or something? Because they can smell your. Apparently, trolls can smell your religion.
Oh.
Your faith.
Your faith, yeah. And if you're not
Sure.
true to it, they will smell you out. Yeah, which is very weird. I don't know. I'm guessing that's what comes from like some sort of folklore. I'm not sure.
Exorcists, like the priest has the thing of that the demons can sense like how true you are in your faith and if you're really a believer. So sure.
So yeah, there you
So
go.
would you-
Same
is
vein.
it bad to be
Magic.
religious towards
No,
the trolls or?
I think it's more if you have doubts.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. I
Right.
haven't seen it. I want to watch
If
that
you're
now.
like,
Yeah.
if you're like a Bible thumper, but you're really like an awful person, maybe.
Right,
I don't really
exactly.
believe it.
You don't really, practice. Okay, practice what you preach, basically.
So let's get into our next segment. So this segment's actually what we've been doing for the past couple of weeks. It's the Crypt. So it's pretty much films that we would like to share with everyone, recommend to everyone watching, including to ourselves as well. So I'll start first, but also I would like to know, what if Amanda Wyss has some
We can ask her.
some recommendations as well. So good old Steve. If you can get her on the line, that'd be great. But before as that happens, I'll just go on with mine.
Sure.
So I did Dead Alive, and it's okay if you don't have to get the picture right away. It don't matter. So Dead Alive is also known as Brain Dead, and it was released in 1992, and it's a horror dark comedy.
Nice.
It's actually there's a picture. Thank you, Steve. It's actually directed by Peter Jackson. It's one of his first
wow.
films, I believe.
It was. It was also dubbed as the goriest film ever made back in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's one I've always seen the
Because-
cover, but I haven't gotten around to actually
Same.
watching it.
The
At
gore,
Blockbuster, I
I was
see
about
that
to
all the
say,
time.
the gore is insane. Let me read you the quick synopsis. So it's a young man's mother is bitten by a sumatran. I should have phonetically spelled that. It's a rat monkey, guys.
No
It's
way.
a monkey with rabies. She gets sick and dies, at which time she comes back to life, killing and eating dogs, nurses, friends, and neighbors. So it's his mom.
Yummy.
His mom gets sick. She gets bitten.
Yeah.
She dies. She comes back to life. Him being the mama's boy that he is tries to help, in a sense, help her or just deal with her being this undead creature that's just going. Thank you. Oh, cool.
Woo.
Hello, Amanda.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Anthony. We met earlier and we talked earlier.
Yes.
Nice
it's
to
nice
finally-
to hear your voice again.
Oh yeah, nice to hear your voice again as well. With me, I have my co-host Kari,
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Kari.
and then also Oliver.
Hi, I'm Oliver Drennan. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Oliver. Nice to meet you as well.
Right on. So just to give you context as to where you're jumping in, we're doing this one segment called The Crypt, which is we just recommend one film to our viewers and to everyone here at the panel. Just a horror film that you think is worth watching, and then just give a little context and a little description as to what happens. And we're wondering if you actually had one off the top of your head, or if not, I could keep going until you think of one.
I don't unless it's one of mine.
Yeah, if you want.
That totally counts. It's,
Yeah,
it's
it
more
definitely counts.
Okay.
the main
perfect.
premise we went with kind of was ones that maybe people aren't totally familiar with, or maybe they haven't gotten around to seeing. Anthony just mentioned Dead Alive, and Oliver and I were saying how we've heard about it, but we never gotten around to seeing it. So like that's a good example of something we knew but we haven't seen, or something that people are like, oh, I've never heard of that.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. You've totally stumped me. I feel put on the spot. Oh, my
Oh, no
God.
worries.
It's
We
okay,
have
yeah.
a few.
Okay.
We have a few more to go through, so you can have a minute to think if you'd like.
Okay.
All right. So I'll just continue with mine. So, going back to Dead Alive, it's actually his third feature.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's why I like it. Again, Steve kind of mentioned earlier, it's one of the, I didn't know that fun fact, but it was one of the bloodiest, goriest horror movies in the 90s.
Sweet.
And I literally wrote, it's a hilariously bloody good time. Like, because it's so
Alright.
crazy. It's so nuts. Have you seen this movie by chance, Amanda?
I haven't.
Oh.
Haven't. Who's in it?
It's, oh man.
Do you remember?
I didn't write down the cast because it was from the 90s, so I don't think he did too much afterwards.
Okay.
And I believe it was set in Australia. I think that's where he's from, Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
So it was an Australian actor. But that's okay. I'll try to tweet the details later on. And the reasons why I like it, it's a bloody good time. It's ultra violent, but it's very fun to watch. Like it's not like like Saw or like Hostel, like oh my god, like this is no. It's like oh my god, that's funny. Like you know, like
Right.
it's a good kind of violence. If there is such a thing.
Yep.
And then it reminds me of the Evil Dead a bit because of like the zaniness and the over the topness to it. And then
Right.
also there's a scene where there's a very creative use with a lawnmower, and not just like a lawnmower, like not how you would think. Like it's not him pushing the lawnmower; it's him grabbing the lawnmower with the blades up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think I have seen this then,
Okay.
because I was like, I think I remember that scene.
Yeah, there's legit one scene. He has a lawnmower and he's
Yeah.
surrounded by these like zombie creatures, and he just goes to town, and it's brilliant. It's so good. So that was my Crypt recommendation. Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead, by Peter Jackson.
Wow. Okay. What other ones have you guys mentioned?
Oh,
He
just
was
that
the
one so
first
far.
one for today.
Okay.
Did you need a moment, or did you have one ready?
Or talk about one of yours. We'd love to hear it.
That too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I feel so dumb that I can't think of one off the top of my head.
It's all right.
As I'm in horror films. There's so many, but I was thinking, okay, this is a super obscure one, and it's old timey, so I bet a lot of people haven't seen it. But the first play I ever did was called The Innocents, and there's a movie that they made of that in, I mean, gosh, I don't even know when it was, if it was in like the 50s or something, but it's a really scary gothic horror about this governess and this evil child. Anyway, so it's very interesting. So I'm going to say The Innocents, because now if you want obscure, it's like a really scary, creepy, I think children in horror movies are really creepy, and it's bad.
Yes.
Definitely, yeah.
But then I think if anybody wants to see an obscure one of mine, they should see Shakma, about an irradiated baboon,
Actually,
with me and Christopher Atkins and Roddy McDowell. 'Cause who doesn't want to see an irradiated baboon kill people?
Oh, I know. I want to see that.
Yes, it's very, very fun. It's super fun. And we have walkie-talkies, and it kind of takes place during a Dungeons and Dragons kind of game. And
nice.
Shakma, the irradiated baboon who's gone berserk and homicidal. So, I mean, who doesn't want to see that?
Yeah, it's actually, in doing research for this interview, I actually did come across Shakma, and that's actually gonna lead into our next segment. But first, I do want to get your guys' Crypt real quick before we move on to that. Yeah.
Well, actually, a new thing that in a way counts, because I've been talking to some people, and some people are familiar with it but didn't know it was out yet, is the Lore show on Amazon.
Oh, right, yeah.
I talked about it a little bit because, so there's a sound of excitement. If people aren't familiar with it, it is a podcast that's been going on for quite some time, and it's the same narrator, Andy Menke.
Aaron Menke.
It's close. Aaron Menke, and there's a show with Amazon, so it's almost the same thing, but it doesn't feel like, redundant. Like if you listen to the podcast, you don't feel bored watching the show. And they take pretty much the similar format of the podcast, but then they have reenactment segments. And it's came out October 13th, because some people are like, oh, it's available now? And I'm like, yes. There's about 6 episodes, I think, on Amazon right now, if you have Amazon Prime. I've watched 1 through 3. They're all really good and really engaging.
Wait, are they half hour or an hour?
They range. They're about a half hour, 45-ish. Okay. Each one's a little different on the duration.
Okay.
First 2, I would say that the reenactments went on a hair too long. But in the third one, I like the reenactment a little bit more. But maybe it depends on what the subject matter is. Because I love if you're into macabre, history, true crime, lore or legends, mythology, it's really cool because it takes things that are, fantastical, but goes, here's the real stuff about it, and is very well researched, and again, just super interesting. That I highly recommend it. It's a really good show, and the podcast is cool too.
I totally agree with you. I love that podcast, and I can't wait to start binging the show.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've actually been listening to the podcast. Like, I usually listen to them on the way here to work. Yesterday, I'm still within the first 10. Yesterday, I listened to the one about H.H. Holmes and the murder house, I believe. Yeah, that was quite the. Yeah, it was pretty hard. It was a pretty heavy one, but it was good. It was a goodie.
I'm going very, very slowly, but I'm reading through the book on that, so it just keeps getting weirder and weirder of what he does.
Yeah, isn't
Holmes.
Humanity just strange?
Oh, it's so bizarre. Yeah.
All right. Oliver, hit us.
Well, I explained this one last week, but I didn't do it justice just because we were going through technical difficulties. But mine,
deep dive.
mine would be The Final Girls. It's the 2015 horror dark comedy, and I definitely recommend this to you guys. If you haven't seen it yet, Amanda, you need to watch this one. This one's so funny. The synopsis is really quick. It's a young woman grieving the loss of her mother, a famous scream queen from the 1980s, finds herself pulled into the world of her mom's most famous movie. Reunited, the women must fight off the film's maniacal killer. And the director is Todd Strauss-Olsen. And it has such an ensemble cast: Thaisa Farmiga from American Horror Story, Nina Dobrev, Alia Shawkat, Adam Devine from Workaholics. It's just a really fun, good time, and I totally recommend it. It's so meta. It plays with the horror genre, and like the archetypes. The main point of the film is just to really play with fate and like fight against fate. Not everything's written in stone, and like the mom's character is actually killed off in the film, but when they're trapped in the film, they want to save the mom because she's not typically the final girl, and the final girl actually dies. Spoiler, quick little spoiler, not a big spoiler.
Not much of a final
But
girl
like,
then.
like kind of like the plain Jane, she actually gets killed, but we're trying to save the mom, and it's such a fun film. I totally recommend it to everyone. But yeah, I could talk here for hours on end, but I definitely want to talk more with Amanda now.
Right on.
Yay.
Oh, God. And I just want to listen to you guys because you're like encyclopedic. And I love hearing everything that you're talking about.
Right
Well,
on.
we're glad to hear that. Thank you very much.
We're so excited for you to be with us today. We're so happy.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you.
Thank you so
for
much.
having me.
Oh yeah, I mean we do what we can, I guess. But yeah, so moving on to one of my favorite segments I like to do on the show, and I think it's a weekly one. We got Permanent Weekly.
Yeah.
So we do here at Amanda. We do what is I'm blanking. We do Deaths of the Week. It's right in front of me. So we do Deaths of the Week, but I wanted to do honorary Deaths of the Week featuring Amanda Wyss. So we show a clip of someone pretty much dying. And so my first clip I want to show is going to be from Schmoes, and it's your bathroom death scene.
Yay.
So you won't be able to see it, but you will hear it. So Steve, go
Okay.
ahead and let that roll. Oh yeah, close up on her face. Oh man.
I don't trust this baboon.
Yeah. There's a walkie-talkie. Oh! Yeah, they had this weird, like sound effect every time. But look how crazy that baboon is going on that door. That's so scary. Like, it just goes savage. It's like, ah.
Lock the
The
door.
baboon was very scary.
Oh my god.
It looks so big.
It looks like about, what, 3, 4 feet tall? It's like
Yeah, he's like
Don't
4
do
feet
it,
tall.
don't
4 feet
Wow.
tall? Like when he's
Wow.
stretched out?
Or
Like,
maybe not that tall. He seems that tall.
Oh my
man,
gosh.
Look how savage he is, though.
On the other side of the door, did they have a real one and like a fake one, or what? Do you remember what they used?
They had there was a real one, and then there was different like baboon parts that they could use for some of the obviously when it had to physically attack a
like
person.
when the hand
But,
went out. Okay.
Yeah. But that scene where I'm running down the hall, they unleashed him. Like I literally ran down the hall.
Oh, man.
wow.
The only direction was don't slip.
Oh,
I was like,
oh, there you go.
Dave.
Oh
I'm
no.
thinking this isn't a good idea.
Oh, hey, and Shudder, which we've also talked about them.
Yay,
Which
Shudder.
I don't know if you guys know, they just added all the classic horror monster movies.
The Universal Classic
Yes.
movies?
I know
Nice.
you already bought the
Yeah.
box
I know, I
set,
was like,
but I was so
whatever.
excited. I was like, yes,
I
because
got
I've been
it.
meaning to watch them.
Yeah.
That is quite a death
I
scene,
think
and
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That death scene is
So-
man. That baboon,
I actually I dug
I know, it's
that
crazy.
scene, bananas in the bathroom.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, so
Nice.
and you were playing the character of Tracy. They didn't have a last name for you, but yeah, it was Tracy. And again, you prefaced it with you play a game of like you're trying to I believe ascend. Well, from what I read, you were trying to ascend a tower. And everyone
Yeah.
had walkie-talkies, and there was a game master who was kind of like guiding you through the tower, but he ends up getting taken out by Schmoes, and so it's
Yeah.
left you guys to everyone else to kind of scramble and like figure out what's going
Oh,
on.
wow.
Like they think they're still
Oh.
playing a game,
Yeah.
but there's this monkey that's just coming out. And just yeah.
We were all like young scientist students who were spending the night in the lab doing playing like this Dungeons and Dragons like game, and in this lab where they were doing experiments on Schmoes, who goes berserk. Yeah, so it was working with the baboon was definitely interesting and frightening, and I mean they're beautiful creatures, and there was a baboon wrangler, and there was electric fences and stuff, which he like just ran through whenever he felt like it. I was like, I feel unsafe. Just let everyone know I
Oh,
feel
dang.
terribly unsafe. But it was definitely fun and funny, and we all got a kick out of it. And it's
Yeah.
kind of one of those really bad. It's bad in a way that it makes it good, and that it has like this new life happening that people want to see it. It didn't die a quiet death like one would have hoped. So I embrace it.
Awesome.
Yeah, who can say that they got savagely mauled by a baboon? A crazy
Right?
berserk baboon.
Exactly.
No one.
I know. Career made. Bucket list.
And so that was actually one of two. So I actually have another clip here. I feel like this scene doesn't really need an introduction.
No, it
so I
doesn't.
feel like we'll just go ahead and play it. And Amanda, I'm sure you'll be able to guess where it's from just going off the audio here.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Oh. Who could that be?
Who could that be? I feel like he's a salsa dancer right there. He's just gonna like that.
He just wants a hug.
Yeah.
Uncle Robert.
Please, God. This is God.
Run!
Run!
Run, Tina!
You can make it. Oh no.
Oh, gosh.
I love that too. How that's all in one shot. I mean, they had two people just come up. There's one behind her, one in front of her. Oh, it's so cool.
Some good running.
Yeah.
Some
Thank
people
you.
run really weird on camera.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I mean it.
I don't know why they always flail around while you run. Like, you shouldn't do that. Like.
I know that was really gross. I had to run barefoot down
Oh, yeah.
a dirty alley in Venice Beach, California. I was like, where the crew had been just picking up needles and
Oh,
things.
gosh.
Ooh.
Did you do the little fall there too? It looks like you do a fight almost with him.
Yeah.
Nice.
nice.
Good job.
Thank you.
I gotta say, this is like one of the most iconic death scenes that personally I have ever seen. Like once, I didn't know, as a kid I saw this, like just this scene in general, and I didn't know where it was from, but it stuck with me like
Yeah.
for the rest. Like I always remember this scene. And you also.
Well, you know what?
Oh.
Part of it is that it goes on for like 14 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's
Wow.
really it's indelible in that way, and it's also, you know, I don't know. There's something about how the length of it and how brutal it is, and that you almost think she might get away.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, there's a lot of, and we were so young, and and you know, it wasn't like Heather and I were, you know, sex pots. We were like these people that you could totally relate to, and not that you can't relate to a sex pot, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
we were like your sister or something. And so I just feel like Wes was such a genius about the way he created the character, so that he was able to really get people emotionally involved in the story,
Absolutely.
as well as visually thrilled by the story. And I'd read somewhere that all good horror is intrinsically sad, and Wes was a master at that.
Yes.
Like that, because if the story is such that it can move your heart, you're triply invested in the visuals and the death scenes and stuff. So I thought
sure.
that he was really a master at that.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts.
And how also I would like to for you if you could talk about how it was working with Wes Craven.
Oh, well, it was fantastic, and he was incredibly smart and funny, and it was pretty quiet as far as, you know, it wasn't super chatty with us anyway, because we were kids, and but he was great. He was amazing at working with young people. I mean, I can only speak for myself and, you know, our group at that time, and was very, he just knew how to talk to young people and really help create the story that he wanted to tell. And, but he was also very funny, incredibly literate and erudite, and he was always dressed really nicely. I just always remember that, like that he was dressed very nicely. He was impeccable in his manners and all that, and you know, and intimidating, incredibly intimidating. I found him even now, like, you know, the last time I saw him, I just always found him really intimidating, but funny. He was always incredibly warm and loving towards me, but he's just sort of an imposing person.
Oh. Did he ever offer you any like advice or special words of wisdom for your career? Because this was a defining moment for your career.
It was. Thank you. You know what? He did many nice things for me. Through him, I got many other films all through my career, through him putting in a good word for me. And he never actually said it to me, but he had said to other people, keep an eye on this one. She's an amazing actress. And he really helped me get other movies and TV shows and things. Sadly, I never got to work with him again, but he was a huge factor in me getting really great roles all the way up until, he passed. So he was a staunch supporter of my career, but apparently not enough to work with me again.
But that's great.
But for others, he thought that I was special.
Oh,
very cool.
That's so sweet.
I wanted to ask. I noticed that you've done. You did Fast Times at Ridgemont High. You also did Better Off Dead. But you also go and do Nightmare on Elm Street and Shockma and other horror films. So as an actor, were you always? Did you know, or like, did you want to continue horror, or was there like a specific genre you leaned more towards, or like how did that go about?
You know what? It really was that when people have sent me scripts or I've been sent a script to go audition for, I just really looked at the character or, and I've ended up that sometimes stories look better on the page and then they turn out to be horrible. But I really, for the most part, there's a couple reasons an actor takes a movie. Sometimes you just need the money, or you really love the character even though the movie's not so great. But what I found was that through the years, and still, some of the best roles I get offered are in horror films. Horror films and television for the most part. So I didn't seek out the horror genre; it sort of found me. And in some ways, I'm known in the horror genre, but I'm not like I don't know, Barbara Crampton or even Heather, who's my best friend in real life, or these women that are my dear friends who are really they're beloved horror icons. But I know that I'm known in the world and I love it. And I know it's been the horror genre, and the horror fans are literally the most loyal, excited, cinema lovers. And so I feel really grateful that it sort of found me, actually. And and especially as I get older, gosh, these young writers, and they're mostly young writers and filmmakers, write such great roles for women. And it happens on television as well, which isn't horror, which is the other place I feel at home. But you know what? I didn't seek it out, but I've really nurtured it, and I feel really grateful that I landed in this element, because just as an actor, I get to do the best roles. And whether it's a horror film or a comedy, your acting isn't. There's some technique things you do differently for a horror film, but you still want to find the truth and try to make it as real as possible. So you suck people in and then scare them.
Well, actually, that's an interesting transition of horror and TV, because then we have Sandman now.
Thank you, Kari. Yes, actually, you took the words right out of my mouth.
God, I didn't even do that on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're
I'm glad
great.
you
It's
did
fine.
it. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because you said horror TV genre. So, yeah. So you just recently the Sandman premiered on October 14th, I believe. Or was it? No, the 20th. You're at 14th. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
And
then it's going to show a few more times, but I'm not sure of those dates.
Oh, okay. So luckily everyone here at the panel, we saw it. I personally loved it. I love the idea of the Sandman, and how the little girl, I believe Madison, how she was able to control it and everything. I noticed that you and who played Madison, Shay Smolik, were also in The Hatred.
Yes.
Were you guys able to? So did you guys work together in The Hatred as well? Did you guys have some scenes together?
Yes. Well, you know what? The Hatred, I really just have a cameo in, and it's such a good film, and I actually highly recommend it to anybody that wants a a good like ghost story that is incredibly scary. The script was so scary. A friend of mine directed it and asked me to. Wait, did you see it?
No, but that makes us excited.
No, yeah, but
yeah, it's really really good, and Shay is just phenomenal in it, as are the other young actresses in it. It's a really phenomenal cast, and the director asked David Naughton and I also played his wife before in movies, and he's a good friend of mine, if we'd play the mom and dad in this. And I mean, I have nothing to do in the movie. However, I was like, sure, that'll be fun, and I love David. And so I met Shay, who's just adorable, and then and so, you know, we took a bunch of family photos and stuff like that. And but I wish I had more to do in The Hatred, and I don't normally do cameos just because people are like, oh my God, I can't wait to see your movie. And I'm like, I don't want to go see it if it's just for me. Go see it because it's a great movie. So then when Sandman came along, and I thought that role would be really fun to play and try to make it play the, I don't know, I just wanted to see if I could bring that doctor to life in a way that helps tell that story. And plus to work with Shay again, and Haley, who's lovely, and I'm a fan of the director, Peter Sullivan. I like his work, and his producers, he and his partners, they make a lot of TV movies that I like, and so I thought that whole thing was amazing. But I thought that was an incredibly small world that Shay was in both those movies, and I just think somebody to watch. I feel like she's going to be a huge star. She's so talented and poised and really dedicated, and she's such a, you know, she's a child. She doesn't want to hear me say that, but she's just lovely. And so anyway, The Hatred, there's a movie.
Oh, for
I'm
your
gonna
Crypt
recommend
selection?
The Hatred.
All right,
Yeah.
there it is.
Perfect.
Lock it down.
Because I think lock that one in. I finally found it.
Right.
And it's a really good paranormal ghost story, and it's fun and it's scary, and it's a really good cast.
Nice.
Right on.
Perfect.
So
Yeah, we
but
enjoyed
so
your
the
role
Sandman.
in
Sorry.
Sandman.
Go on.
Oh no, I was sorry. I was gonna say, yeah, I really enjoyed your role in Sandman, and even though it isn't, you're not in the film for a very long time, but it's still memorable enough. And then you also get a. Well, do we want to say what happens? But what happens to you is really cool.
Yeah, I like the way.
Like how that happened. Yes. And
I know.
Go ahead.
There's things I know. Just because you almost said it. I'm in the middle of filming a movie called The Orchard that's also really scary, and it's an amazing cast of characters. It's Jay Moore, Henry Rollins, Tom Sizemore, me, Sean Patrick Flannery, and it's such a good script, and I love my role in it. And so we were starting one day on the set. We were in Kentucky, and they said, you know, Amanda, it's your turn. Come do some behind the scenes stuff for later.
Oh, cool.
And I proceed to there's a lot of twists and turns in the movie, and I totally laid them out. And the guy stops. He's like, you can't say any of that for this. And I'm like, oh yeah, duh. Right. I just told the whole every twist and turn. I was like, well, so I just think it's funny because those are the most fun things we want to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So
so I know.
I feel like we should put up a spoiler wall and then just go into it, though.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay, yeah.
Or
Let's do
bring
it.
down the spoiler wall. Bring down the
Spoiler
wall. All right. Yeah, let's do a spoiler alert. There it is.
Oh no.
We gotta get out, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So in case you haven't seen the Sandman, you definitely want to tune out before then and then come back. But yeah, if you've seen it, then by all means stick around. But yeah, so you play Dr. Amanda Elliott in the Sandman, and I loved how they kept your first name. And the way you go out is pretty great. It looked like what would it be, like cinnamon in your mouth? That was looking like sand.
Oh, that was smart. Yeah, it was something like that. I don't know if it was cinnamon, but it was, what was it?
Like some sort of spice or something?
I can't remember now, but it was something like that. It wasn't quite as spicy as cinnamon, but I can't think of what it was. Cardamom or something.
Because that would make me choke
powdery.
for sure.
Oh my gosh, I know it. And I literally was choking. And
Oh
it
my
had
goodness.
gallons of water that I'd like wash it down with. And then I was like, I'm gonna like explode, and I'm gonna bloat out like the Michelin Man and then just like burst.
How do you prepare yourself to like
Yeah.
in like when you're gonna do a death scene? How do you mentally prepare yourself? And do you have any like tips for people who want to possibly die in a film?
Yeah, I can see myself dying in a film.
Let's see. Well, first of all, you need, I really like them to walk me through exactly what they visually are looking for,
Okay.
or what the gag type things they're going to use. Like if it's like with, in Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm being ripped apart. Well, and then we've gone and made tons of prosthetics and things like that. Or in Sandman, where I meet my
Demise.
maker. So I find out what's happening, like what it is we're trying to achieve. And then I want to figure, as an actor, I try to just get so immersed in the moment before that happens, so that it's richer. Like if somebody's super alive before they fight it, it's more impactful. And then I just try to stay, you have the temptation, I think, to like have when you're kids where you're like, oh, wow, you make all those noises and you do all that stuff. You can't really, you want to just try to be as real and let the moment do the work, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
And just, you try to just be, not that I would know really how to die, but, you just try to do it as subtly as possible and as real as possible. And I've done it better sometimes and worse others. I've had a couple like where I go, oh, what was I doing? What was I thinking? I was not present. But that would be my
Awesome.
tip. Like, you just need to know what are you guys as a group trying to achieve?
Sure.
But that thing of being super alive before and committed, because I think sometimes people are anticipating that it's about to happen, and if the actor's anticipating it, then the audience doesn't get as big of a
Okay.
thrill,
That makes
Awesome.
sense.
Yeah.
subconsciously anyway.
Right.
Those are my thoughts.
I would like to hit you
That'll
with
be $1.
All right, well, PayPal you. We'll get your info after the show. I would like to hit you with a fun question, because we did cover a couple of your death scenes, as well as you do die in the Sandman, and I was just wondering.
She bit the dust.
Oh my!
Amazing. Oh my God! I'm
That has to
feeling
be that
Thank
clip's
you.
Yeah.
that has to be that clip's death name too. Oh yeah, the one I dubbed your Nightmare on Elm Street death scene. I called it Tina's bloody dream.
Ooh.
Right?
Okay.
That's
I like
proper,
it.
right? Yeah. So I wanted to ask you a fun question. So, if you had the opportunity to choose how to die in any of your films, or just like an imaginary film that you're gonna go for, and you're gonna die, and they're like, I want you to choose how you go out. What do you think it'd be? Sky's the limit, really.
Ooh. Okay. You know what? I think something. I mean, I don't know if it would be impactful as a horror film, but I just think cinematically drowning. I know that sounds weird,
Yeah.
but there's something about if the camera's underwater and hair is billowing and people gasping and climbing, holding onto an arm, trying to pull them. So I feel like it's so in the audio. I just feel like even thinking about it, I want to panic. And I feel like when I watch it on film, I'm so horrified by it, and I can't. I don't know how to not identify with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good.
Was that a boring answer to you?
No, that's a great
No.
answer. Yeah, because that actually it's cool because you answered with something that actually scares you, and it brings out an emotional response from you that's so genuine that you're
Yeah.
like, yeah. like that's something I would want to do, even though it frightens me just thinking about it.
Because we all like, and I noticed we all have that kind of like reaction when you said that.
Drown, we're like,
Yeah, I'm like,
we all grew up not knowing how to swim at one point, I'm sure. So we like, like I like to breathe. So
it's kind of important.
it's like a strange reverse claustrophobia, you know? Like it's weird, but it's with water.
Yes.
So I had another question. Have you ever? It's a little just about the Sandman as well. Have you ever heard of the call babies before this movie? Of how that's like a special phenomenon that happens.
No, I've never heard of it. And when I read the script, I immediately started looking it up, and it's fascinating just through, different cultures throughout history, what people thought of babies born en call or, partial call, or these things where they're born they're delivered in the amniotic sac. And some cultures revered them as that they were mystics and sages, and other people thought they were witches, which was, depending on the culture, maybe not such a great thing. And, and I love that they took that idea and the mysticism involved, that because they also felt that some children born like that had psychic abilities or paranormal abilities. And I was like, God, had you ever heard of it? I had never heard of it.
No, that's one of the things I discussed on last week, where I had never even heard of this thing before. I love the idea of it, and I'm glad it's it's based off of a real cases in life.
Only on another show, Hemlock Grove had that.
Oh, okay. Hemlock Grove. I believe that's a Netflix original, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like that show, but I missed that. All right.
They just say like I forget which one of the guys they said they were born that way, or one of the characters they talk about it.
Okay.
It's one of those, like, it's a side thing,
Yeah,
but it's not huge, but it's like a thing that happened that I was like, what? And then they talk about it. But
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was interesting, and they just sort of basically like kind of mention it, and then my character's written books about it, and I have all these theories about it, which I never, it doesn't really get explored that much because it's not the main point of the story. But I thought that was a really fascinating little B storyline for the movie, and I thought that was interesting. That was cool.
I actually have another question for you, Amanda. You kind of mentioned this earlier in the interview about amazing roles for women, and we kind of discussed this last week about how the horror genre is kind of very like women orientated. This is a genre that women can really shine in. And I was wondering, what do you think it is that it's extra special that a woman can bring to the genre that a man can't really bring?
What a great question.
Well, I think there's a couple things, and I don't think it originally started out really being, pro for women in that sense, but I feel like because women tend to be more preyed upon in our society than men in many ways, and I think that, so for the horror genre, as a rule, it was like either a man or a creature stalking, more stalking women. So I think that from that, which was kind of, back in the day, the original Scream Queens, because it really was just vulnerable women being, slaughtered right and left and screaming. And then it sort of turned into more, I believe anyway, these are my theories about it, like where writers started writing more actual characters and stories that became horrific tales, which is, I believe, is more modern day horror, where there's like these stories where you can meet a woman that has all the characteristics, like where a man in a movie can have many different characteristics. He can be a dad and a jerk and, a high-powered guy and a drunk, or all these things. And oftentimes women are written as like she's the virgin, or she's the mean girl, or
the cheerleader.
But I'm finding that more stories are being written where women are written more completely as well, because women have bad days, but they can still be a good person. And I feel like women aren't as victimized in horror films, which I think is what makes the roles better. Because I think in a lot of slasher films, there's a survivor girl, but she's really just the least victim-y of the victims, if you know what I mean by that. Like she's just survived the guy that was she was still his prey. And I think that now that stories are getting more balanced with women, and they tend to. I mean, I think, there's a lot of mythological reasons why women can carry horror films. It's like the mother energy and that I think instinctively we want to protect women. We want to protect women and children. So a vulnerable woman in a scary movie, it really engages the audience. So I think that there's story reasons for it, but the outcome is that I find, especially gosh, in like the last 10 years, are some amazing roles for women. And I'm not even talking for young women, like women my age, that are being written in these movies is really phenomenal. And I don't know. Those are my thoughts about the horror genre. What do you guys think?
Oh, no, totally agree. I think it's fantastic. We talked about it last week. I was like, you guys have had such good questions today. I'm like, yeah, I think you definitely nailed it. And it is something with you expect the woman to be the victim. And so then it's the fun surprise when she's not and fights back. And then that kind of is the final girl icon. And, you at least expect her to do anything impressive. So then you're like, what?
Yes.
And then it's maybe a fun surprise, or that's maybe subconscious what we want. We want the women to be stronger characters within that world and be able to fight back.
Right.
I think so. I do. I think so. And I think that, yes, I agree with you. I do. I think that, I think especially women, we want that, and I think guys do too, for the most part. And so it's, because in a weird way, it creates a balance that, that everybody isn't, that all women aren't victims and all men aren't predators. But that's why I think that, especially there's a lot of young filmmakers in the horror genre really creating these balanced pieces that, where they're using more of like a family dynamic or a couple dynamic or, I don't know, I'm really having fun reading scripts that are coming my way to see the new interesting ways people are doing them. In the end of the year, I'm doing a horror Western.
Nice.
But it's like a home invasion horror Western. And it's amazing. And the female, there's a couple female parts, and I play the madam of the home that's being invaded. And it's the madam. They know what kind of home it is. But it's interesting because the women are all very powerful, even though they fall prey to this thing. And it's just really written in this really interesting way. Like the women aren't like squealing like, no, I don't. They're like, can do, but they're just overpowered. And I find that to be like, I'm just finding more roles like that, where it's still the same. You still get the same like lizard brain cell memory horror fight or flight thing, but it's told in a really balanced way, I think anyway, that I find really, I feel like that's, a more modern way.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Can you give us the title for that one yet, or? It's
called Contention.
Contention.
Okay.
We'll have to watch
We'll
out
have to
for
look
that
out
one.
for that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. And it's a young filmmaker, Justin Lee, who filmed a movie last year that I have a part in as well. It's called Big Legend. It's like a creature feature Bigfoot movie.
Ooh, nice.
And
Very cool.
He's super talented, a guy to keep your eye on. But anyway, so what do you guys think about women in horror film? I know what you think. You said that really eloquently, by the way.
Us guys. No, I personally, I think it has to do with how I guess in society we're kind of embedded with that. I hate to say it this way, but that women are weaker, and that way it's easier to prey on them, and it's easier to, in a sense, take advantage over them, and that I think it adds to the overall scare factor and the overall like horror feel for it because of the fact that we're embedded with this, and it's like, oh man, she's going after him, or I mean he's going after him. no, he's going after her. My bad. He's going after her. Like, oh man, this is not gonna end well because we're kind of like, well, we're kind of like, well, not, I won't say all of us, but like there is
Conditioned.
some, yeah, we're
Yeah.
conditioned. We're like, what is she gonna do? What can she
Yeah.
do? And then that's when you see these
Yeah.
like strong female characters that come out to be very strong and resourceful, that they go through traumatic experiences, but they're able to flip it around, like, okay, this happened, but I need to survive,
Yeah.
and I need to do this. And then I think that's what the final girls represent in like films, where they go through so much horrifying sequences, but at the end they're still able to come up strong, and even stronger than they were before at the start of the film.
Yeah.
If that all made sense. It just
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, it totally made sense. It totally made sense. And I think that, I mean, gosh, look what's happening in Hollywood right now. With, I mean, over the last even couple weeks with, you know, things coming out of like, I think that we've all been conditioned about certain ways women are treated and things like that. And I think, you know, like your generation is really having to like, oh, wait, how do we restructure this? Or how do we go forward, you know, maybe with some new ideas or whatever, which I think you're doing, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining
Yes.
us.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Amanda.
Yeah.
It was a
Oh
pleasure.
my gosh, thank you guys for wanting to chat. It was my pleasure.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, you'll have to come in if you're ever in the LA area on a
Yeah.
Tuesday. Please,
Yeah, that'd
we'd
be
love
great
to have you.
Maybe for
Oh
one of
my
your.
gosh, I want to do that. Of course, I live in
Yes.
LA. I'll
Oh,
come
yeah.
in here.
Oh.
I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be
Woohoo.
great.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
we could just go more in depth into your work and stuff, or if there's any recent releases are coming
Yeah,
out
exactly.
soon.
To promote any of the
yeah.
upcoming films you have.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
go ahead and promote anything that you're working on, or anything that's gonna be released soon. If you want to plug that in.
I'm working on right now, really quick. Oh my gosh.
I
My mind
have
just
The
went blank.
Orchard.
The
Okay.
Orchard.
And also
and
Triggered.
I just did a horror comedy called Triggered.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
And
Okay.
then,
Nice.
so keep an eye out for those, but they won't be out for a while. Big Legend will be coming out next year,
Okay.
and then Contention after that.
So
after we shoot it, we
All
haven't
right.
finished-
Sounds
we
like
haven't
Exciting.
finished
2018
Nice
sounds
couple
like
of them
a
laying out. Yeah.
yeah. It sounds like a good year for you next year, huh?
I know. I hope so. I mean, gosh, fingers crossed. Who knows?
I'm
you know,
sure, I'm sure.
I'm optimistic, but also like, you know
Realist.
what? Sometimes life happens, and you
Yeah.
go, oh, that didn't turn out the way I wanted. But I definitely want to come in and see your faces, and you have my phone number, so
Yeah, I
And
do.
well,
you
where
can
can
just let me know.
where can normal fans follow you
Like
online?
on social media.
I'm on Twitter _ Amanda Wyss. I'm on Instagram, which I think is just Amanda Wyss. And then I have a Facebook fan page that you don't have to have a friend request for or anything, just Amanda Wyss.
Okay.
Perfect.
And I'm not Snapchat. I tried it. It's just I just can't do it.
I don't
like it either.
I'm too mature for it. I'm like
Well,
I can't
no.
handle this much
Yeah.
social media.
So-
It's all right. You got the bases covered.
Yeah, less is more.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I got the bases.
all right. Yeah. So
Well,
once again.
I look forward to chatting with you guys again and guys
Yes.
and gals.
Us too.
Yeah,
Likewise.
Us too.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Really
Bye.
appreciate it.
Bye,
Bye.
Amanda.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Okay. So that was amazing.
It was great. It's so fun to talk to her.
That was
Cool.
amazing. I just we gotta wrap. But
Yeah.
Real quick.
Plug that with your sign out.
Just real quick. So yeah. Okay. Perfect. So you can find me everywhere. You can find me everywhere at Anthony Becerra and at Tony B Dead. TonyBDed. First time spelling that. It feels good. So with that, I went to go see the man, the myth, the legend, John Carpenter, and I got him to sign these 2
Yay.
items. Yeah, he's my favorite. He did the thing.
Amazing.
I was so happy and giddy. I saw him at Golden Apple Comics, and I got the
Nice.
whole
Oh my
authors
God.
and
Nice.
authors and also
Oh, that's awesome.
the
That's beautiful.
artist to sign his new comic that came out. It's Tales for Halloween Volume 3, John Carpenter's, and he signed it along with Tim Bradstreet and his wife, and everyone who was there. There was a couple of them. Apparently, he does a signing every year, so this was the fifth year he did this. So.
Sweet.
Next time you comes around, I'm coming for you, John Carpenter, and I'm gonna get your signature on a big thing poster that I will buy in the future.
Awesome.
So that's for me. Carrie, take it away.
And I was gonna say also on our horror movie news, we'll tweet a photo that you took with him too.
Yeah,
So
you're
you
gonna
guys
see me
can-
cheesing like crazy. But
Yes,
yeah.
no, it's great.
With some tears. With some
With some-
tears.
Happy tears, yes. You all can find me online at Kari Lane. That's Karidlane. And again, go check out Espionage Cosmetics. Like, they have these zombie nail wraps. They're so fun, especially Walking Dead that came out. And so what we're giving away this week, we did get a winner for the Tokyo Ghoul. I'll be reaching out to them on YouTube. So this week we're giving away Clive Barker nail wraps. They are so awesome. It's like pages from the book and skin put together. And like, listen to this tagline. Your manicure will be legendary, even in hell.
Oh.
So for that
Love
one, why don't you list below?
Oh, that's awesome.
List below which one of the Hellraiser movies is your favorite, because there are quite a few, and I think I've seen almost all of them. And or if you know, or favorite moment from one of the Hellraisers, or favorite Hellraiser film, comment down below, and then you could be our lucky winner to get these nail wraps.
Or I'm stealing them again. No. Guys, you can find me on all social media platforms at Ollie Dreamer. And if you like cosplays, because Halloween's coming up, follow my cosplay page at Ollie Cosplays. I don't know. I might go to LA Comic Con too. Maybe. Are you guys going?
Not as of
No.
yet.
No.
No, I'm not. Sorry.
I'm going to go alone. So, hey, hit me up if you guys
there
are
you go.
going. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right, so that has been horror movie news number 4. Thank you all for joining us. We'll catch you next week right here,
On
same time
Halloween.
on
Yes.
Halloween.
Yay.
Producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network. We would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.